The Editor-in-Chief is live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, welcome to the program. August the 27th, you're with the Editor-in-Chief live, of course, with Lester's Oil, your multi-ingredient, omega-3 healthy aging supplement, backed by thousands and thousands of satisfied customers. Get the benefits of 6 supplements in 1 capsule to support joint, heart and brain health. Take as directed. Read the label. It's about health. Auckland, good morning, folks. Nice to have your company. I'm Duncan, Garner. Welcome to the show. Today, get in touch. Send us your comments live. We're on YouTube, TikTok. Check out all the details all on screen there. Brad Olsen will join us very shortly. Will this fast-track law see business actually build infrastructure quickly in New Zealand? If the government sets the right conditions, will the companies follow and front up and with their dosh, Right now, factories are closed and jobs have been lost because power is too expensive. And people have lost their jobs. So we simply can't keep living like this. So will the new generation be built using the fast-track laws? We'll look at this with Brad Olsen very, very shortly. And are you shocked at managing your car? The warrant, the rego. We look at this. There's a new app called Bonnet that does it all for you. Still using your money, of course. It's always the case, isn't it? It's news time. Here's MediaWorks Deputy News Editor. It is Grace Cockham. Very good morning.
Police are asking for witnesses or anyone with dashcam footage of a triple fatal crash in South Auckland to come forward. 3 cars and a truck collided yesterday afternoon on State Highway 1 near Ramarama. It only reopened a few hours ago. Opposition parties are being urged to get in behind the government's plan to solve the energy security crisis. A raft of changes have been announced, like reversing the oil and gas exploration ban. PM Christopher Luxon warns a lot is at stake.
Voting against the repeal of oil and gas exploration, voting against fast-track legislation would mean voting against hard-working New Zealanders.
A union wants disconnect laws to be considered in New Zealand. It has been rolled out across the ditch, meaning most employees do not have to respond outside of hours to work emails or communications. First Union's Dennis Margus says it's a growing problem, especially post-pandemic.
There's no delineation now about working time, office hours, and your time.
The UN has been forced to suspend its aid operation temporarily in Gaza as Israel orders more evacuations. UNRWA spokesperson Sam Rose says the humanitarian zone is now just 11% of the entire strip.
And this isn't 11% of land that is fit for habitation, fit for services, fit for life.
To sport, All Black sports coach Jason Ryan's stoked to have captain Scott Barrett back on team in South Africa.
He's rehabbed his hand really well, and what I know about Scooter as well is the bigger the contest, usually the better he goes.
The team's named at 5 p.m. on Thursday ahead of Sunday's test at Ellis Park. The US Tennis Open is underway in New York. New Zealand's Lulu Soon's opening match has been pushed out to 10:15 this morning. And Golf NZ CEO Jeff Latch is leading the charge for Lydia Ko to take out the Supreme Halberg Award.
Certainly can't think what more Lydia could do to actually be a strong contender for some of those really big awards at the Halbergs.
In the past month, Ko's won Olympic gold, qualified for the Hall of Fame and won the Women's Open at St Andrews. That's news and sport.
Thank you, Grace. The disconnect laws are quite like this. That means you try and get hold of me in the weekend and I just ignore you.
I think it's, unless there's like an emergency. So I assume if you're like a medical worker, there'd be some kind of loop, which makes sense, obviously. But so means you call me outside of my work hours. I finish at midday. You call me at 1 p.m. I can say laters.
I saw you at the gym. You're across the road. Well, come on. Surely you can answer the phone. I'm watching it ring and you're not answering it.
I know.
Business would hate this. Business would hate this.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. I used to always be on it. It's taken me until this year to stop.
They don't care.
Being on it. I know. I got kicked off.
Pay you as a result.
I got kicked off an email chain on my honeymoon because I wouldn't stop replying to emails at work when we were at News Hub together.
Was he that boring, was he?
No, I just got oh God, I hope he's not listening. No, I get FOMO. I've got fear of missing out. And it used to be such a skite. You could be like, I'm always on my work emails, and people would be like, what a hard worker.
Special time.
I know.
Poor guy.
I know. He puts up a lot.
I'm sure he does.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yeah, and who do you pick for the Halbergs? I mean, overall, is it Carrington or is it Lydia Ko? Carrington Co. How do you separate those two? And can you give it to both of them? Or can there only be one winner? You let me know. Let us know. It's all on TikTok and YouTube there. Now, the Greenies hate this. Business has demanded it, and more than 300 applications are sitting in a queue hoping for the green light. This is the fast-track bill. Business wants an easier and quicker way to build and cheaper way to build infrastructure in New Zealand. Things like hydro dams, things like that, hydro projects, roads, housing, mining operations. Lots of hype and hope. The issue right now is businesses want certainty certainty that their investment, their projects will be on time, on budget, and not delayed. So will this make a difference? Brad Olsen, of course, the boss at Infometrics, joins us now. Brad, good to have you on the line. How big's the problem? How crucial is this law?
I think it is crucial. I mean, we know that we've got an infrastructure deficit across the country. We know that everyone says that the costs of going through, all of the red tape to get things ready to go takes a long time. It costs a lot of money. That means that, you've got all of those delays that comes through. So it's very much a real issue. And I guess it's one of those things, though, where before, when the government was proposing to really, it seemed, decide whatever it wanted as the government of the day on what projects got through or not, there was, I think, a lot of concern from businesses that they were very keen to see things sped up. I mean, Infometrics did a report last year on, the cost of infrastructure, but also on the ability, if we had a stronger pipeline and we had greater visibility and everything was just that little bit easier, we could achieve billions of dollars more in investment. But equally, if businesses are worried that one government will give them the tick and then another government could come in and give them the cross, I don't know if I'd invest in that sort of scenario. So I am glad that the government has made some sensible tweaks to ensure that there is hopefully a little bit more longevity for these projects when they do eventually go ahead.
This is, with all sort of economic decisions, there's a cause and there's an effect. There's always some sort of, blowback. And this, I reckon, this law that's being made now is a direct result of Jacinda Ardern going out there and banning oil and gas on the spot, warning no one, telling no one, just a nuclear moment. As a result of that, you've seen power prices go up, you've seen gas prices go through the roof, you've seen businesses close, people lost their jobs, investments walked away from the country. This, in many ways, is a sort of the reaction to that, isn't it?
Well, partly. I'm not sure that all of this is stemming from just the oil and gas ban. I mean, you look at gas production over time, it's been falling, and we haven't really found anything that massively huge to develop and bring through all that quickly anyway, even when you could explore pre the ban. But I think it also sort of speaks to that wider issue where we seem to continually let these big issues sort of dwell on us. We don't do as much about them, and then when they do hit, we go, oh gosh, isn't that a bad thing? Wonder if we should have seen that before. And I mean, to be fair, you look at these issues and we totally should have been introducing more generation across the country. I actually think that one of the challenges that the previous government had was that they were going to, of them, as a government themselves, be equivalent to nearly half of all the additional investment into energy over the next decade with Lake Onslow. Now, if I'm a private sector company, and I'm looking out at, these investment opportunities, if the government's going to do half the job for me, why am I going to put my money into investing in those sort of areas?
Yeah, I reckon that it's negligence, actually, to not invest in power generation, because if you don't invest in power generation, or if you don't create the environment for investment, then you have blackouts. Now, simply that means you don't have economic growth, you have job losses, and look where we're at now, Brad.
Oh, exactly. And you look at those producers across the country who are saying, look, I just can't make this work because it's now completely unaffordable. But equally, Duncan, and this is the big thing, infrastructure does not happen overnight. These sort of things really needed to happen 3 to 5 years ago. And so I think the worry, even with the government's announcement yesterday saying, look, we want to be encouraging more investment and we might just legislate to consent to LNG import facilities. Like, again, that's not a quick just stand up, bring a boat in and haul it alongside and pump the stuff off. Like, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of investment and time that has to go into this. But I think as well, because look, you're right in your opening that a lot of people still seem to be against some of these fast track laws. The law as it's sort of proposed at the moment is a lot more similar in a sense to what the previous government did with the COVID fast tracking. And I think that politically it would be pretty dumb for anyone to come out and say, oh, well, it's bad now, but it was totally okay a couple of years ago. Consistency is important here. So I think this does give it a little bit more longevity. I'm just glad that, the talk a lot of the time on this fast track stuff for almost the last half year seem to be on the likes of mining projects. Now, there are some in there. There's 5% of current projects that are mining. But actually the big bulk of what could be unlocked here with this fast track is the likes of housing developments. 40% of projects in there at the moment are housing, 24% are infrastructure, 18% renewable. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in here, but the best time to do it was yesterday. The second best time is right this second.
Yeah, and the law's not even passed yet, is it? I mean, we're still going through the process, and process takes time, and that costs money, and that's the very point of these infrastructure companies. They say everything takes far too long in New Zealand, it's too expensive, and therefore we're not building.
Oh, totally. And because of that as well, all of these shifts and changes because of the time frames means that you can make an in-principle decision. You say as a company, I think I want to invest in this, but, I've just got to wait until we've done all of the paperwork. You go through the paperwork, construction costs have shot up. You've got some new engineering advice that's come in. There's a new law that means you have to report, every second of every day for a whole laundry list of things. And you go, well, actually, look, I was happy enough to invest it 300 million, but now that it's 500 million or 700 million, I just can't make the numbers stack up, so I'm going to walk away. Those time delays do cost us.
Yes, but when you have profits of $2.7 billion, so the four major power companies, which are largely majority owned here in New Zealand, although you've got also the private investment as well. So you've got $2.7 billion of money in profits in 1 year. Why on earth aren't we putting this back into regeneration?
Oh, and I think that's one of the challenges, right? And I mean, yes, the gentailers and that will say that they're investing in more generation, and broadly speaking, they are. It's just that hasn't been coming through quite as quickly and as immediately to get us through what is sort of a bit of a double hit body blow of both low hydro lakes and that lower gas production. But I think, again, the government could do that itself. If anyone who's like, we should just order the power companies to do more generation. The government sort of literally can. They do, like you say, own most of them. They could say, look, we are happy to take a lower profit over the next, say, 5 years because we don't, you can make effectively give us a lower dividend, instead reinvest that profit that you've got into generation, and we want to see you overdo it. Because I think that's the worry, right? We always talk in New Zealand, be like, don't want to spend too much money. If we can get away with it, I'll sort of go on the cheaper level. No, I reckon we should overbuild. If you think you need, 100 units of whatever, build 120 just in case, because the risk of underdoing it, at the moment, we keep getting bit with it. I think it's worse than actually overspending just a touch and getting something that can last a little bit longer.
Remember the outrage over think big? Think big, too big, think big. Oh, now look, it's not big enough.
Well, although, again, I think a lot of those think big projects, you look at them now and I don't know if they were ever sort of set up to do it forever. And go on and on and on. But it also, and this is the challenge around parts of regional New Zealand, Duncan, is that there are a lot of employers out there, or a lot of who have sort of a single big anchor employer, and that means that they are increasingly vulnerable. I mean, you look at the likes of Methanex in New Plymouth, that's about 1% of their workforce. Some of those, forestry and wood processing operations in the central North Island, they are big employers. They will quite possibly make or break little townships. Yeah. So, this is big stuff for some areas. It might not be the biggest part of GDP nationally, but it makes a huge difference to those local communities.
And that Methanex, just to finish on, that Methanex, I've looked at that business. They've closed their doors and they are now selling the gas that they have on site because there's money in it for them. So they can sell the gas and make money rather than actually create the product they were creating in the first place. They've closed down and they're just selling the fuel that they've got. That's astonishing.
And they're making more money than if they were making the methanol. Which, it just goes to show how, out of kilter the electricity market has got and the wider energy market has got so quickly. And I think the worry is, there's more reporting this morning that, Transpower are starting some of the creative work for a national conservation campaign on energy. I mean, this sort of stuff is becoming real. And I don't know about you, it doesn't actually feel like it's the biggest crisis mode out there. Surely we've had bigger crises, but with that gas production down, with hydro lakes low, it's all hitting all at once. And we just don't have the ability right here, right now, to switch something on and go, boom, everything is fixed. Yeah. It will either cost us in power or cost us in blackout.
Brad, what if, just final question, what if it doesn't rain for the next 5 years? Because this generation will come on board, but it won't come on board for a number of years. So if it doesn't rain, we're in the shit.
Well, it means that we're going to have to bring in a heck of a lot of coal to keep burning at Huntly to keep things moving. But even then, there's questions over how much can we continue to do that? What happens if something happened to coal resources or shipping or similar? And I think, that, Duncan, the big worry here, right, is into the future we are going to have more and more energy that we are needing. We've got EVs, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. That is good for us, but if we don't have the infrastructure to generate, to transmit the power across the country, to distribute it down the lines, then we are going to fail. And given that we've already had pylons fall over this year, I don't know that there's a huge amount of confidence out there in how all of these structures work. Well said.
It is time to set the alarm and let's hear it. Good on you, Brad. Always appreciate your time.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yeah, 0800 863 293. I'll take your calls on this as well. I mean, if we don't get this right, we haven't got it right, then we face losing our jobs. Guys in the middle of the central and North Island have lost their jobs. Where's the other factories that are picking them up? They're not. So we need a security of supply. It's really, really important. Really important. I'll take your calls. Dave, I think you're on the line. G'day.
Morning, Duncan. I'll be blunt. I'm kind of over the blaming Jacinda for the oil and gas problems. That was 8 years ago. And since then, there's been $2 billion invested into oil and gas exploration. The issue is there's no oil and gas around New Zealand. They didn't find enough to produce what they promised to double the market. Therefore, this is why we see this massive spike in increase. Like, it's not Jacinda's fault for banning new oil and gas exploration. Not all, just new permits. There are already a bunch of permits issued.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point, except to say that the investment that was here, they buggered off as well. You see, they just didn't hang around. They said, there's no future here, let's go now. So a lot of it went, Dave. That's the truth.
Oh, yeah, look, I mean, they were out there. They spent $2 billion. They didn't find anything. What can they invest in if there's nothing there?
That's called exploration.
Yeah, that's what. There was a piece on Q&A over the weekend about it, like last week. It was really interesting to watch. That's just not there. And you got to remember, John Key sold off 49% of Meridian Power at a fire sale. Like, that's more detrimental to us as Kiwis than Jacinda Ardern's ban on oil and gas. And we could have also built Lake Oslo, then sold off 51% to privatise a majority of it, and still had Lake Oslo, but National canned it because Labor bad.
Yeah, you need to stand for
Just
office,
like
Dave.
Dave,
you need
just
to,
like they canned houses.
You need to stand for office, Dave. You need to stand for office. Hey, I appreciate your time. I better keep.
I need my own podcast, I think.
You do need your own podcast, mate. There's studio space in here. Come and do it. I appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for calling.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, good on you, mate.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, good morning to you.
3 questions from the Editor-in-Chief. 1.
And number 1 today, my 3 questions, and it goes like this. Now, what in the wake of that awful crash, killing 3 people on the Auckland Southern Motorway, what do we make of this? Well, I hope this isn't too soon, but the cheese cutter medium barrier separating the traffic going either way doesn't cut it, does it? It proved itself to be utterly hopeless, right? If the cheese cutter only stops cars and there are increasing numbers of huge trucks on the road, then what are we doing? What's the point? Scrap the cheese cutter and put in proper, good enough barriers that can actually stop trucks. The word out in the street this morning is that the truck blew a tyre. That's what happened as it went across the centre line.
2.
Number 2, okay, so what did you do with your tax cut? Which you have now well and truly pocketed, okay? So it's been a month in. Did you notice it? How much was it? And did it make a difference to you and your family and your life? Give me feedback right now. Post a comment on YouTube or TikTok. It's all there. All the details are there. And
3.
And number 3, to Celebrity Treasure Island news, if you didn't know, the Herald Entertainment News team has done the numbers, and it's predicted that I will come in 3rd place out of the 18 contestants. So I won't win it. I'll be 3rd place. That's a really credible showing if I come in 3rd, if they're correct. But they have confidence in me, which may or may not be misjudged or misguided. Forrester and Isaac can't wait to see how I go and how I'm portrayed in this, you see. Am I a nice guy or do I come out as the villain, top bloke or total arsehole? That's all being discussed. So who knows? I hope they paint me in a decent picture.
Duncan Garner, live.
Yeah, otherwise I'm going to bomb out, aren't I? Right, this fascinates me, this next story. Keeping on top of car administration can be a real pain. Certainly I know for me, I'm not very good at this at all. Warrants, regos, fuel tax, road user charges, it's all there. And if you ever forgotten to renew your rego or warrant, you'll know the fine can be phenomenal, actually. It can be really, really taxing. But now there's an app that does all of the work for you. This is smart. You just enter your license plate and it links your car to data from NZTA. Then it sends reminders and payment prompts, all that sort of thing, like warrant, registration, car servicing, all that stuff. Steph Kenyard is the brains behind the app. It's called Bonnet. We'll just go into the bonnet and have a look as she joins me now. Steph, how are you? Nice to see you.
Good, thank you, Duncan.
Have I given it a good sort of sell? Is that what it does?
Pretty good. Yep.
Yeah,
that's it.
Long time coming, something like this. I need this because I don't have a reg on a warrant right now. Can you believe it?
Not really. So over half of people actually don't get their warrant done on time.
Is that right?
Yeah, and over a third don't get their registration done on time. So
it's one of those messy things. Yeah, it's messy, and a bit of paperwork sits over there, or something comes on the email or whatever. It's just it's no home for it, you know.
Yeah. So it's hard to manage it for a personal car. Imagine like managing a whole fleet, 30, 50 or 100 vehicles.
True.
Well, it's actually interesting. So what happened after we launched the app is we had a huge amount of fleet people come to us and say there isn't a compliance tool at all in New Zealand like this. So
you've got to pick the hole in the market, don't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just lucky. I mean, we had no idea that was a massive problem, and everyone's using spreadsheets, all these fleets. So
Fleet management.
Yeah, 6 months later, we launched our web application, and it's gone crazy. There's just every single fleet out there. I mean, the telematics companies don't manage compliance like we do, and we've seen huge growth.
Yeah, I bet you have. So have you initially set this up just for the individual, for people like me, and then you realised, hang on a second, the market's, the need is over here.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I've worked in automotive my whole life. My family has been in motorsport, and I had a good understanding of how tech and good design worked. And I sat on this design for like 6 years before I decided to build it.
Yep.
Built it. It was like an overnight 6-year success story. You know how it is. And then it was just the fleets coming out of the woodwork saying, build this on desktop.
Right. So how hard was that to build? I mean, because you've got to be pretty good at this stuff.
So I have had a creative agency for the last 10 years.
Right.
So I have a team of developers and designers. So it was So for me, it's never easy building anything. Like, to be honest, I've been building websites, web applications, and apps like a whole new kettle of fish.
Yes.
But it's a learning. Like, I built it completely wrong the first time. Had to completely rebuild it.
But that's how you learn.
So hard. Yeah.
So how does this one actually work? So let's say that I jump on this and I use it. How does it work for me?
Yeah, so you just jump on. Most of the users come through the app side of thing, unless they're a fleet company, and then you just put on your number plate, and we pull back the data from the NZTA for your WAF registration and RUCs. You can then connect a service agent. We've got 800 service agents throughout New Zealand using like a back-end CRM tool for service notes. So we get in a lot of service notes uploaded by fleets or service centres, and we're looking to do service summaries and stuff like that too. So, I mean, under the bonnet, there's so much more than just a simple, like, people were saying, oh, just look at your windscreen. Honestly, the amount of comments that I've seen online for that, it's not about that. It's like the big fleets, the families, agriculture.
Because all this information's there, but it's never been available to us as citizens. Whenever I go to Repco and try and get myself a spark plug or something, they what's your number? They say they put it in there, your rego, whatever, and up it comes. And they've got all this information on your car, but you never see that.
Yeah.
But they have all the access.
Yeah.
So this in many ways empowers us.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we needed to get to a certain point to prove to the government we could have access to that data, but essentially all of that information around vehicles is public knowledge. Yeah. So
what sort of, how many people have you got on it now? What sort of, you've got more individuals or more fleet?
So 85% of our users are public users, and then 15% is the fleet users. So the fleet users are starting to kind of like ramp up. That's kind of where we're targeting.
Yep.
Our business model is that we'll always keep a version of the app for free for the general public. It like promotes our viral product growth, but also it's like incentivizes, to keep your vehicle safe and compliant. And then eventually, if you get to a situation where you are with a fleet company, you can kind of onboard.
And so I don't have to pay for it?
Yeah, well, you don't have to pay for it for one car.
You're right.
Well, great story here. So we launched this at a price, and the NZTA put the data costs up 3,000% in our first year. So our business model at the beginning was to keep like the first 10 vehicles for free and just target the fleet side of things. And NZTA, their $100 million money grab, kind of like screwed us over a little bit. So we had to kind of go back to the drawing board.
Because you rely on them, you bought the information off them, the data.
Yeah, but across the board, the NZTA has increased the data for things like registration and WAF, but the cost of the data that we were using to run the program went up 3,000%. So we're like looking towards the minister to hopefully make our the public side free for data, essentially, because we're not commercialising
it's a public service, right?
Yes.
In many ways.
Yeah.
And here's NZTA trying to screw you over and profiteer out of this, right?
Yeah.
For data which should be public, probably.
It should, and with half of people not getting the warrant done on time, and that guy blowing his tyre out, I just saw that before I walked in here.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the scenario look
like?
Well,
it looks like a tyre in that accident in South Auckland, and 3 people dead.
Yeah. It's sad.
It really is. So, in many ways, you think NZTA would want to be on your side on this?
Yeah, that's just a huge chain of people, and they're all leaving all the time. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to discredit them. They have been very, very helpful. There's some great people there, but at the end of the day, like, we want to make sure that the service is free for the general public to a certain extent.
What else could it do in the future? What do you see in terms of developing? Because I can see you're
question.
smiling away.
Yeah.
I can see that your mind is going full noise, and there's something else going on.
Yeah, so we actually, you're the first to know this.
Oh.
We are launching a crowdfunding Pledge Me campaign next week. So if anyone wants to look into that, you can sign up on our Bonnet.co.nz site. We have been going through our raising journey for like a year. And as someone that hasn't gone through that process before, let me how difficult it is. You think you get to one point, and then there's just so many more things like the blind rules that angels have in terms of you really need a CTO if you're a female founder, and like all these things we've gotten here now, but a user recently reached out to us wanting to invest, which is now closed. So we thought we'd reach out to the rest of the people. Classic tall poppy syndrome. I didn't want to do that because, it's just been massive.
There's two things I want to explore with you here now. Well, let's go wider than your app. One is setting up a business in New Zealand. I've just set it myself up as a business, and it's taken me 9 months of. It's just hellish, just the little things, the GST and all this. It's never easy, and now I'm having to change vendor numbers and vendor forms. So it is a nightmare. And also tall poppy syndrome. Firstly, though, setting up a business in New Zealand, how hard?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I just don't care anymore about what people say, and I feel like if you do everything, you're going to get a couple of things right. So don't do nothing. Yeah, it's my theory.
And tall poppy syndrome, I think it's alive and well, and never been greater in New Zealand actually.
Yeah, I mean, again, I try and have blinders on, but it just really comes on, when I'm like, I don't want to ask our users if they want to do our crowdfunding, and then when we did, it was hundreds of people just saying
They would get in behind you because they'll be using the app, they know how good it is for them, so they'll get in behind your next project.
And that's what's happened, and it's been, super overwhelming, but it's just testament to how useful the program is for people and fleets.
I reckon that you've probably saved people lots of tickets too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's peace of mind. Your whole, your fleet is compliant. Your insurance is the massive thing, and also, obviously, your drivers are then safe on the road. But if you've got 30 vehicles or even 10, it's millions of dollars worth of assets, and you're going to spend a couple $100 a month, a year on making sure that those assets are insured.
What's the cost for fleet management? What's the cost of the app for businesses?
So the first vehicle is free, which obviously we're trying to change, and then it's $4 per vehicle per month after that.
That's
and
nothing.
You can invite drivers. We've got the cheapest system to track rucks without hardware on the road for anyone that's got an EV.
Yep.
We're seeing a huge amount of construction and then agriculture, educational, the EVs and stuff are starting to come on board too. So it's just easy to use.
Yeah, this really is going to be a one-stop shop, I think, in years ahead.
But to answer the question before, so exciting thing. So there's basically vehicle manufacturers that are starting to see their revenue stream and selling the vehicle computer data. So basically what that means is you can actually connect into a vehicle computer without hardware and get all the sensor points off it. So we're hoping to use that for, basically imagine if you have your app, you've got your Hyundai, your wife's car that's a Toyota, and you can go between them all, see the sensor points, battery life, crash detection. She gets in a crash, straight away.
This is so smart.
Yeah.
Well, is this? I know you've always been involved in motoring and that sort of thing. You say that in all your life, but do you pinch yourself now and go, "Wow, I can't believe I've done this"? And do you lie sort of in bed at night, and go, "I can't sleep. I'm just thinking so much about it."
Yeah. Well, I just try and do things that I can imagine, and I'm like, well, if I can't, I'll just see if I can get there. And most of the time, you find smarter people than you to help you get there and see the vision. But yeah.
Well, that's also the trick about leadership, isn't it? To delegating to people that are better than you at some things.
Exactly.
So how many people have you got on board? What's your team?
So 13 in total. A lot of those people are contractors and stuff. We are still very much like a small startup. My CTO is my co-founder, so he's the technical side. So
it's a great New Zealand story.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. So. Sorry.
No, that's a great New Zealand story. How can people find it? How can people download it?
Yeah, so the goal is to launch over in the UK because they have the most amount of compliance, actually more so than New Zealand. New Zealand has one of the highest. If you're interested in being part of the crowd funding, go to our website, bonnet.co.nz, and register. It will be announced next week. We're going to open it up to our users first because we said, we want to reward them and have them have a slice of the pie, and then it will be public at the end of next week.
You know what? We don't celebrate good business stories enough in New Zealand. We don't get behind the people. We need in America there would be thousands and thousands of investors. And there'd be big promotion of this, and this is success. But here we want to knock people. We don't want her to win. Well, I want you to win.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the best.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, what a buzz. What a fantastic idea, and it's going well, isn't it? Right, let's slam it. Okay, so this has really got on my goat, this one. This is, there's been much intrigue around the identity of the former political figure who was yesterday found guilty of plying teenage boys with alcohol and sexually abusing them in the 1990s. The accused is aged in his 50s and has been given interim name suppression to continue for at least 14 days. So 14 days, 2 weeks of name suppression. It's bloody outrageous. Another 2 weeks of cowering in the corner, not wanting to take responsibility for his actions. Another 2 weeks where he has privacy and can hide away from his convictions. He doesn't deserve it, and it shouldn't happen like this. It's really simple. In the public interest, we need to know who it is. His heinous actions means that he's lost his right to privacy, in my view. So the background is this. Yesterday, a jury in the Auckland District Court found him guilty of 3 charges of indecently assaulting a boy between the ages of 12 and 16 and guilty of 5 charges of indecently assaulting a male over 16 following this week-long trial. So after deliberating for 3 hours, the jurors returned their unanimous verdicts of guilty on all 8 charges, guilty on everything. But my beef is with this name suppression. If you're going to engage in such sordid and abusive and illegal behaviour and be such a threat to innocent young people, then there's no way that you should even be considered for name suppression. Really? I mean, perhaps if they're your kids and identifying you would then identify them, then that is one reason, and we understand that. But there's no reason here for suppression. On a conviction being entered, his name must be made public. On what grounds could he possibly be seeking name suppression? He doesn't deserve name suppression, does he? You tell me otherwise, but adults who prey on minors, in my book, are scumbags, the lowest of the low. They're scum. And the media should be inside this court fighting this as well. I would have thought we would have in the past. He did the crime, he suffers the consequences. Simple. Just because 30 years later it's all a little bit inconvenient is not an excuse for privacy. He doesn't deserve it. His name must be up in lights ASAP. And enter his name in the Child Sex Offenders Register as well. We're too soft and too light on those who offend against children, against minors in this country, in my view. Other countries would laugh at us for even considering name suppression. They would point the finger at us as softies. He's not the victim here. He's the perpetrator. He will be named and shamed in time. Just let this silly little process come to an end. And it will come to an end.
Duncan Garner, live.
Okay, you guys really want to, Isaac, don't you, and sort of poke fun at me around the celebrity treasure stuff, don't you? Yes. Can you believe that the Herald think I'm going to get third?
Third? I mean, that's a pretty... How many people are on the show?
18.
Yeah. 18, okay.
Yeah.
So that... Oh, well, that's well done then.
I had lots of interest yesterday. Lots of interest. Starting to ramp up.
Yeah, that's good.
So they must think I'm some sort of physical beast, huh?
Yeah. I mean, they probably know, they must know you can fish.
Big fisherman. You got survival skills, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. I thought I'd be really kind. So I go into this exercise. I ignored the email for days and days. I wasn't going to do it. No, not interested. Not me. But then I thought, the old man wanted me to do something like this, get resilient and whatever, deal with it.
And it's great for charity, right?
It's a couple of nights I was so
You're doing
hungry.
it for your charity,
yeah,
right?
Cancer Society, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, because Dad died of cancer. So, yeah, they're doing it for that. I make a little bit of money for the Cancer Society. Not much. I didn't... I'm not going to say. I win a few things. It's such an eye-opener. Like, the wilderness is... when I came back from there, I thought, how useless we all are here. All the stuff that we think is relevant, it's irrelevant. We had no phone. You're in there for weeks and weeks, and you're living on rice and beans.
Yeah.
We went to bed hungry, cold.
But isn't it crazy how some people actually do that every day?
Well, that's what it was like 200 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's still like that now for lots of people.
I slept on a sack bunk with no windows.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Lots of good comments, especially on this last one. No reason for name suppression, name and shame. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to offend against young boys, sexually, and then 30 years later it's a bit inconvenient to face the charges. Well, if you get charged, you get convicted, you get your name out there. Simple. The only one reason you wouldn't have his name out there is because they're his own kids.
Yeah.
So you need to protect them.
Someone says must have a good lawyer.
Yeah,
you have to have a regarding lawyer to win.
We need to fight this. This is what we meant to do in the media. We meant to shine light on scumbags.
Yeah.
Other people saying regarding that app chat. What's the app called? Bonnet.co.nz.
Yeah.
And
what a brilliant
app.
woman.
Yeah.
Brilliant app. It's a really, really cool app. I was talking to her outside because I was saying I feel like there's very very cliche things. The early developer that goes, guys, I'm starting an app.
Yeah.
It's very cliche, but I was saying actually this app will be very helpful to a lot of people.
And we see they found a gap in the market because there wasn't one there. There's no such thing. So you go and look at my car. No rego, no warrant. Well, I've got the paperwork. I got the paperwork. So I show the cops. You see.
There you go.
That's been a month old. Right. Good stuff, guys. That's us. Thanks for tuning in to Duncan, Garner, Editor-in-Chief, live with Lester's Oil, the premium New Zealand-made fish oil supplement backed by a study. Support joint heart and brain health. Use the code Duncan for 10% off right now. You can ring them. You can get hold of them. Abouthealth.co.nz. Take as directed. Read the label. About Health Auckland. If you call right now, 0800 999 309, they've got people waiting by the phone, and the fish oil stuff, that Leicester stuff, that's good. It's good for your joints, as in your joints, like your knees and your elbows and things like that. It makes, as you get older, you don't feel them so much with a bit of Leicester's oil, so get into it. That is us. This will be available as a podcast very, very shortly on Rover or wherever you get your podcast. To my team, thanks for all your work and all your support and all your feedback. I'm Duncan at rover.nz. My team is Isaac, Miranda, who has she still helped put this together, hasn't she? And Zarina. Tomorrow, guys, we'll do this all again. Remember, life's no dress rehearsal. There is no curtain raiser. Did I say thank you to Forrester? Did I miss Forrester?
Yeah, you missed me. That's okay. I'll let it slide.
What do you mean you let it slide? What are you going to do about it? Forrester, you're amazing. Forrester. Okay, we see his name 5 times. Okay, we'll forget about it tomorrow. This is a beautiful country, so get out and enjoy it. Take care, folks. Ta-da.
That was Duncan Garner, Editor-in-Chief Live. Missed something on the live stream? Text Duncan to 3598 to listen back on the podcast. Want to get in touch? Call 0800 863 293.